Hey, what's up? I'm Sarah, a family photographer and business coach based in Southwest Florida. And today I'm going to show you how to take an image from good to great because sometimes things happen just really unexpectedly during sessions, especially if you're photographing families or little kids. Sometimes they just do the cutest things out of nowhere, and you're not always, you should try to always be as ready as you can be, but you're not necessarily like perfectly setting up a shot every single time. When these super cute things happen, my goal is just to make sure that I get the moment, I get their face, and I get them in focus because I know I can correct the rest later. And today I'm going to show you exactly how I do that. So we're going to look at an image and I'm going to take it into Photoshop. So to do that, if you're in Lightroom, you're just going to right click on the image and say edit in. I'm using Photoshop beta right now. I'm not sure when you're watching this video, but right now Photoshop is still kind of in the beta mode for all of their AI tools. So we're going to use that Photoshop beta because there's quite a few things that you can do there that you can't do in Lightroom yet. Lightroom has come a long way. They've added a lot of great features that have been super helpful and prevented me from having to take a lot of images into Photoshop, but there are still certain things that Photoshop just does better. So the first thing I'm going to do here in this image is I'm going to try to remove mom and the little girl. And the reason I don't want to do that is because they're a little bit distracting. Like, he is my subject, he is where I want the eye to go, but the eye naturally goes to whatever is the brightest or whitest part of the image. So my eye is naturally going over here to mom's shirt, even though he's the focal point of this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lasso tool. You'll get that over here on the side tool. That's what you're going to select for this. That's how I prefer to remove things. And I'm just going to draw around all of the areas that I want removed. So I'm trying to be a little bit careful here, knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just going to circle him. Got to get sis out of there too because she's kind of distracting here. And then I'm just going to take this. And then now that I've selected them, I'm going to just type in my little generative fill remove. Sorry, my caps is on, which shouldn't matter. You don't typically have to be super descriptive if you're just removing something from the background in an image like this. Just typing the word remove and Photoshop knows what you're talking about. So we're going to see how good of a job it's going to do. It's going to give us a couple variations over here on the side, and we'll see what we like best. So, okay. So I've got this option, which kind of is adding like a little bit of some wood here. And then let's see what this one looks like. That looks a little bit better to me. And then let's just check this last one just in case. That looks like there's like a stone path here. I'm going to go with that middle one. So I'm going to go ahead and now flatten this. So in my right hand panel over here, I'm going to click the little hamburger menu and I'm going to say flatten image. That's just going to combine that new layer that we just created with the older one. Because if we hadn't done that, I'll just show you real quickly. This is just on this layer. This is a layer on top of the background image. So it can be toggled on and off. So until I flatten this image, it's not essentially part of the base, which is essentially the background. So I have to flatten that. So I'm just going to flatten it, which I just did, but I need to show that layer. Just kidding. There we go. Now I'm going to flatten it. And then now I want to kind of recrop this image because if you can tell, his head is so close to the edge right here. And our brains don't like that, right? We want to be able to see somebody perfectly centered, or, off to the left, to the right, rule of thirds, however you're composing the image. In this case, I want him centered. So I'm just going to my crop tool right here. And I have 5x7 set as my width and height. If you prefer 4x6, you can also do that. Now I am just going to kind of straighten until I see there's like a horizon back here, so I'm trying to kind of get that straightened. And I'm going to perfectly center him nicely. And then now I'm just going to up here, I'm going to select generative expand. That means it's going to use AI to fill in all of this checkered area with what it thinks the background would have looked like. Just like we did before, essentially, with removing mom, it's going to use those same tools and software and whatever technology it has to fill in those empty spaces in this image. So we'll just let this work real quick and see what we get. So here's our options. Let's see. We got a few different ones. Looks like mountains if I do that one. Um, I think I'm going to do this first one because it looks the most like what it looked like. Although I don't like how this horizon line is slanted. My brain doesn't like that. Um, so I might just pick one and then I'm just going to straighten it one more time because that's going to drive me crazy. So I'm going to just straighten it a little bit more to get that horizon line to be straight. This time I'm just going to choose content aware because it's a little bit faster. It's such a small area of the photo that we need to add these little tiny slivers here. So I don't really need to use AI to fill those in. It can easily just fill that in with the content aware. Occasionally, I get these little edges that still look like that. A little trick you can do is just flatten the image again, and it will usually take care of that. Yep. Okay, so now what's left to do on this image? I want to fix this. Don't need this little Hobby Lobby number. That's a little distracting, so I'm going to get rid of that. He has a little scratch on his head here and a couple little scars. He has a hair loss. I don't know if I don't like the word disorder, but he had hair the first couple sessions we had, and then the third session I had with his family, he didn't have his hair anymore, but it is starting to grow back. He is healthy. There's nothing wrong with him. He just lost all his hair. It is a medical thing that happens occasionally. Okay, and the last little thing that I want to do on this image is, again, my eye's still going to the brightest part of the image, which is his arm, because he obviously wears a little shirt when he's out in the sun. So he's kind of got a little bit of a farmer's tan here, which is kind of cute in a way. So I don't want to totally get rid of it, but I am just going to use a darkening action here. And then I'm going to invert it. I'm just going to kind of color that in just a little bit so it's not as noticeable. So just, it's very subtle, but man, what a difference that makes. Okay, I'm going to flatten this one more time. I'm going to take a look at his hair up here because I'm wondering if that hair looked like that. I don't think so. I think AI added that. And so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit with my healing or my clone stamp tool. So if you're on Mac, you're going to hold down Option and then click where you want to copy. And you see that little plus sign? That's where it's pulling and sampling from. So sampling from the area above it, which is the same color and matches. So that works well. Get rid of this piece of hair because I don't think that was there. I think AI added that when they added in our background. Now I just want to make sure that color matches nicely. There we go. I might just smooth over it real quick with a little bit of a healing just to help kind of blend. Okay, that looks good. Only other thing I might do is maybe dodge his eyes a little bit. This is the dodge tool. And so I'm just going to cover over his eyes just a tiny bit. It's bringing up, I have it set on shadows, so it's going to bring up any of the shadows in the area where I am kind of painting over. Help make his eyes pop a little bit more just so we can see that tiny bit of color. Okay, that looks good to me. I would finish it off with a little bit of portraiture. I have an action that I have created for that. And then otherwise, this image is done. So now I just have to click Command S. It's going to save it back to Lightroom. And then I am good to go. So I got my final image is here. This is actually the one I edited earlier. So yeah, what a difference that makes. Really took that image from good to great. I hope this was helpful. Hopefully it helps you save a few images that you thought you were going to have to throw out because the composition was super off or they were crazy too crooked that you couldn't straighten it without cropping people's heads or arms or legs off. Hopefully this helps you save a few images. Let me know in the comments if there are any other tutorials you want to see in the future.